thought I knew exactly who I was. I thought I was strong, self aware, emotionally intelligent, and in control. And then I took a personality test and I cried reading the results because every word that was on that screen was me, not the polished version, not the version I presented, the real one. And that is the day that everything started to change. This episode talks about personality patterns, trauma influence, emotional deployment, and personal growth. This is not medical advice. I am not a psychologist. This is not a diagnosis. I am not a substitute for therapy. I'm just sharing my personal experiences and what worked for me. And if something resonates, take it as a reflection, not an instruction. And if you are feeling fragile today, please take care of yourself first. This space is about awareness and growth and not shame. Most people don't care. Most people don't change because they don't know what needs to be changed. You can't fix a problem if you don't know you have one. I generally did not know. I thought my reactions were just my personality. I thought my intensity meant that I was just passionate. I thought that my independence meant that I was involved. And I thought that my emotional walls meant that I had boundaries. And I was so wrong. All of those things were just things I adapted. What I had was adaptions. And adaption is not the same thing as identity. There's a massive difference between who you are and how you survived. I didn't understand that until one day I read myself on a piece of paper. I didn't take the test because I thought something was wrong with me. I took the test casually, honestly, and almost took it ignorantly. And I thought, let's see how accurate this thing is. And I expected something generic. I expected something flattering. I expected something that could nod at a move on from. Instead, it described me defensive tendencies in detail. And it described how I anticipate worst case scenarios before they happen. And it described how I communicate when I felt threatened. And it described how I withdraw emotionally when I'm overwhelmed. And it described how I overfunction when others are underfunctioning. It wasn't vague. It wasn't a horoscope level general. It felt like something had been watching me privately for years. And that's why not because it was insulting, but because it was accurate. And the described patterns I had justified my entire life. It described why certain relationships drained me. It described why certain personalities intimidated me. It described why I shut down in certain conflicts and why I over-explained myself and why I struggled to relax in safe environments. It was like something held me up. It's like someone held up a mirror that I could not look away from. And here's the hardest part. I knew that I had been hiding from parts of myself, avoiding possibilities that some of my strengths are actually trauma responses. And that day was not dramatic. That day was quiet. It was me alone with my phone and my tears running down my face because I realized something that I never seen. I wasn't broken. It was a pattern. It was patterns. Once I saw it, I couldn't leave it alone. I researched everything about it. My personality type, I didn't skim. I went deep. I read articles, studies, behaviors, breakdowns, developments, influences, neurological links, stress responses. I even read things that shocked me most was my personality isn't just who you are. It's influences by trauma exposure. It's influenced by stress frequencies. It's influenced by environment. It's influenced by nervous system conditioning. It's influenced by childhood unpredictability. It's influenced by attachment styles. It's influenced by nutrition, and it's influenced by genetics. And that's when everything changed. Because if something is influenced, then it can be fixed. And if it can be fixed, it can adjust my behaviors. I couldn't just go back to when I was a childhood and rewrite history. I couldn't rewrite genetics overnight, but I can control something immediately, nutrition. So that's the first thing I could lever or pull over. So I learned certain vitamin deficiencies directly affect mood regulations, impulse control, anxiety levels, irritability, and emotional processing, and cognitive clarity. So I corrected that immediately. No waiting, no debating, no overthinking. If even 5% of my emotional intensity could be softened by stabilizing my mood, I'm going to do it. Within weeks, something shifted. Not dramatically, not magically, but something noticeable. I wasn't reactive. I wasn't mentally foggy. I wasn't emotionally violent. And I wasn't quick to assume a threat. That told me something powerful. Some of what I thought was just me, actually my nervous system understood strain. That's a realization alone. That realization alone is free. Then I did something that changed my relationships forever. I studied other personality types, not just labels on people, not excused behavior, not judgment, but to understand. Because I realized that on half of my conflict, it wasn't just malicious. It was a mismatched communication style. Some personalities need directness, some need warmth, some need reassurance, some need space, and some progress out loud. Some progress internally, some confront immediately, some avoid until concern. And I have been communicating from my default settings without their considerations. And when I understood how personalities interrupt tones, body language, pacing, and I adjusted, not to lose myself, but to communicate better. I softened where softness mattered. I clarified where clarified mattered. I stopped over-explaining to people who didn't need it. I stopped chasing resolution with people who process slowly. I stopped assuming silence meant rejection and stopped assuming instant intensity meant passion. I developed a strategy, not manipulation, a strategy. And my life got less complicated, not perfect, less chaotic. There's a difference. I've always felt misunderstood, not heard. And by understanding these things about different people and their personalities and how they intermingle with mine, made me feel more heard, made me feel more understood because we're communicating effectively. And then the real work started. Then I had to set boundaries because awareness without boundaries can change nothing. And you can understand yourself deeply and still tolerate chaos. Boundaries forced me to ask hard questions. What behavior consistently disrupts my peace? What do I tolerate because it feels familiar? What do I excuse because my fear is abandonment? Where am I over-functioning and where am I over-communicating? And then I had to decide what changes, what's comfortable. Because when you change patterns, people feel it. Some people respect it. Some people resist it. Some relationships improve, some fade, and some end. And that can hurt. But clarify what reduces your chaos. I was tired of chaos. I was tired of attracting the wrong people in my life. And I was tired of being taken advantage of. And so once I structured boundaries clearly, not emotionally, not reactively, not intensively, my life simplified. I wasn't consistently analyzing conversations afterward. I wasn't consistently rehearsing what would be said when we did have a conversation. And I wasn't constantly observing other people's inability to understand me. The peace isn't dramatic, it's quiet. And I don't know how addicted I have been to intensity until experienced the quiet. Here's what I want for you. I want you to understand that the trauma beliefs are invisible scripts. They sound like, I have to handle everything myself. I don't control it. If I don't have control over it, it will fall apart. Love means intensity. Conflict means danger. If I relax, something bad will happen. I'm too much and I'm not enough. You can't erase a belief you can't see. You cannot see a belief you refuse to examine. The personality test didn't change me. It related to me. And once I related to myself, I had a responsibility. Yes, a responsibility. And I have a responsibility to make a difference, to say the blame is my fault. Responsibility says, now that I see it, I'm going to do something about it. That shift gave me power. What to take away from today? You're not broken. You have patterns you formed to protect yourself. The patterns you learned are reinforced, and they are adapted. But you are not density of the adaptation. If you want to change your life, start to be honest with yourself. Take a test honestly. Reflect honestly. Evaluate your reflections honestly and look at what repeated conflicts honestly. This is not shame of yourself. This is to understand yourself, to be self-aware, to have self-compassion that becomes self-attack. And self-compassion without self-awareness becomes stagnant. You need both. The version of me who cried reading that test thought she had been exposed. What didn't she realize was what I didn't realize is that I had just been introduced to myself. And that introduction began a piece in my life that I've never had in my entire life. And if this episode resonated with you today, I ask that you please subscribe, share it with someone who's brave enough to look at themselves honestly, commit to the word honest in the comments, and if you've ever had a moment where you realized something about yourself that you couldn't unsee, you can write that as well. In the next episode, we're going to go a little deeper into trauma beliefs, and how they shape our relationships, money decisions, self-worth, conflict and patterns. And because once you see the script, you don't have to keep reperforming it. And this is a soul shelter, and growth is not betrayal, it's alignment. And I'm going to see you next time. My name is B, and I'll be back to fight.